Welcome back to another Spirit Island video. In this video, we are going to be doing a tier list update. So over here on the left side, I have my old tier list. It's been about 6 months since I last talked about tiers. On my right is going to be my Excel sheet with the updated tier list. I'm not going to go through all of the tiers. I've done that plenty of times, and all the other videos you can kind of backtrack, look at them to get a feel for it. Really, I'm just going to be talking about the changes in general. Your X tier, this is like your really overpowered tier. S tier is like pretty overpowered. And then A tier is like slightly above the power curve. B tier is like middle of the road. These are like fairly balanced, might be a little bit broken in some aspects. And then C is a little bit underpowered. Well, actually, no, C is more combo focused. And then D and F are just underpowered. Okay, so X tier. So the biggest thing is Stone has moved up a couple spots. I mean, I've been playing a lot more Stone lately on solo, multiplayer, all of that, and I forget how busted the Spirit is. It's just a complete cheat code for the game. And yes, Green is a very, very good Spirit too, but Stone just has that um, little bit of oppressiveness just because like you draw Indown on turn two or you draw Unrelenting Growth on turn two, you just break the whole game in half for everybody. Your right innate just instant clears lands. Your left innate, you can cheat the blight pool. It's so good. Get to proliferation is also good, but I think Stone just ekes it out a little bit more. So that's the change in X tier. S tier did see a couple changes. The first is both Nourishing and Intensify continue to raise up in the tier. They've both moved up 2 spots, and Keeper's moved closer to the bottom of S tier, and then Roots has fallen out of S tier. So why did Nourishing move up? Nourishing is so good. The ability to fast add Vitality is just one of the most busted effects in the entire game, right? So like Roots, you need to plan the Vitality in advance. Nourishing just says, nah, you get it for free. In addition, there's this Blight restriction on the card, but Nourishing comes with 2 Blight healing cards with both your fast blight healing with guard the healing land, as well as the blight removal card in the minor deck, if I can remember what it's called. My mind is completely blanking, but it's the card that you can either use as damage or as blight removal. And as I'm quickly scouring through the cards here, I'm sure it will come to my mind at some point in this game. Nope, not Poison Dew. That is not the card. Where are you? There it is. Voracious Growth. That's what it is. I just needed to see it here. So Voracious Growth, being able to do damage or remove Blight. Um, and not only that, do you get the fast Blight heal, but you also have abilities to add Dahan mobility, and whenever you gain majors, you also get minors. So it's just a huge boost on the Spirit. I mean, the Spirit is great into every adversary, and then it also has insane combo potential because you still get to keep your right innate. So you still can, like, if you guys want to abuse the repeat effects on endgaming effects, yeah, it's just a very, very good powerful Spirit. Intensify also moved up as well. This is a Spirit that, I mean, it's funny. I remember at one point it was at the top of B, and then it just slowly rose up. The Spirit's busted, right? I think there's like you have like a 90% chance to hit a very good major, and there are some majors that you hit and you just break the game in half. You always have a defend 5 on that left innate, so you're always able to handle at least one of your lands. Um, and then your cards, your support kit is just so strong as well. Being able to give elements if you need to, being able to give power cards, as well as fear, being able to look at that fear deck. There are plenty of minor cards that you synergize with as well due to the intensify aspect. And you also get a bonus any and a bonus element. So it's so easy to threshold majors. What else? Oh, the other thing too is because of memory's rules, long ages of forgotten or long ages of knowledge and forgetfulness. Whenever you would forget a power card, you may discard it. So this allows you to very easily pay for a lot of events, those payment events. In addition, you have a very good spread of cards to forget, right? You have multiple airs, you have moon, sun, water, plant. These are all elements that you really want to pay for. Like the only one that you don't have access to is what is it? Wait, or do you? It looks like you have all the elements. Oh, it's fire, right? And fire doesn't matter. That's what it was. Yeah, the fire doesn't really matter. So very easy for you to pay for those forget cards. Plus, like I said, you have the two elements. Like there's so much you can do with the spirit. Um, like I just think it's a solid S tier, or at least it's better than Keeper and Roots. So yeah, Keeper is closer to the bottom of S tier, mainly because of edge cases, and like Keeper also doesn't have the best matchups into some adversaries like HME, Sweden, Prussia. These are adversaries where you might just take a little bit too much blight. Like you might take more blight than some of these other overpowered spirits. Um, the big thing with Keeper is your endgame is so broken because you're looking at usually 4 energy, 5 plays, but because your reclaim and your presence placement add energy, you're really at 6-5 on turn, I think it's turn 4. Usually this is like turn 4-ish because you're reclaiming and you have the extra presence placement. So like 6-5, turn 4, turn 5 is so good. Like most spirits can't reach that. And then it's just you just keep placing presents. Like eventually you get to 9, and it's like, okay, well I have 11 energy a turn, 5 plays, and I've drafted a billion cards because of my G4, my G2, as well as boon of growing power. So just plenty of tools there. Now, like I said, the early game can be kind of meh with the spirit. So pairing up Keeper with a spirit that can mitigate blight, it would be the go-to, as that is, I think, why the biggest weakness to Keeper. I do think it's strong enough to be an S tier because a lot of times, like this spirit, especially if you play with like a group of 6 people, just completely, in my opinion, ruins the game for everybody because it's so powerful. And like I said, the downside of taking the early blight just doesn't really matter when you have a huge blight pool of what 11 blight or something like that. So bottom of S tier, and now the newest member of S tier is Finder. So I finally moved Finder up. I know there's been a couple of players in my playgroup that have been advocating for Finder to be in S and even X tier for years now. I'm talking years. I remember in 2020, I had a friend that was telling me Finder top 5 spirit in the game, but at that time we just didn't have the players that could play Finder at a very high level. And now there is, like, I would say quite a lot of good Finder players. Like I know in my group there's plenty of them that play, as well as just playing in regular lobbies on the Discord. They're like, I remember when I used to play in 2020, in 2019, and or actually no, it was 2020, and in my back home in 2019. Just whenever someone pick up Finder, it would make the game take so long, and a lot of times the players had no idea what they were doing. But now you play a game online with somebody and they know all of the Finder openings, they know how to play, what to draft for. Just the knowledge for Finder is out there, and the spirit has just kind of, it's been opened up. I mean, I definitely think it's an S tier spirit, or at least as good as Keeper. The combo potential is there, the major potential is there, and it's just a very, very good spirit. I mean, there's like every game now, because pretty much every game I play, there's at least someone playing Finder, and it's like, okay, well, everyone's digging in the major deck, and then someone eventually finds like Irresistible Call or Power Storm, and then Finder grabs like a stupid major like Manifest Incarnation, and then we generate, like, we had a game yesterday, it was 90 fear in one turn off this card because someone played Power Storm and then it got slipped, and it was just silly stuff, and then Finder grouped up all of the buildings. So very good spirit. There are a couple tricky matchups. I think HME is the toughest, but outside of HME, I think it's well, even with HME, it deserves to be an S tier, because if Keeper's an S tier with a couple weaker end matchups, I think Finder does too. Okay, so that's where we're at. So Keeper, Finder, yep, all of this we talked about. Towering Roots. This is the spirit that fell out of S tier. Oh, my favorite spirit has just slowly dropped. I think what happened was I had played so much Roots, like during playtesting and then after playtesting, that I really optimized the spirit to a very high level, and I kind of forgot how powerful other spirits were because that was the only spirit I was playing. And then when I haven't played Roots much in a long time, and I started playing Stone and Many Minds, and kind of going back I played Starlight Keeper, all these other spirits that I like playing, and I went back to them and I was like, wow, playing Roots is significantly harder than these spirits. It's just, you're limited at 4 card plays. The spirit, when I say limited, it's it's much more balanced than those spirits, and it's a lot more fair of a spirit. You have to be proactive with Vitality. Yes, Vitality is a very powerful tool, but you can't just plop it down like Nourishing, where like you can fast heal the Blight and then throw Vitality down and completely solve land. You can't do that with Roots. You don't have Blight healing that's going to take multiple actions. Your energy economy is very tight with the spirit unless you get lucky with drafts. And your presence placement is very important, where the Incarnate is very important. You're board dependent in some cases. Board E, the spirit plays like an S tier spirit, but if you're not on board E, it's going to play a lot worse. Um, and I think the spirit isn't worthy of S tier. I think top of A tier, yes, and I don't think it can go any further than somewhere in the top of A tier. Like to me, it reminds me of like a volcano or a trickster, right? These are both spirits that have flaws, are incredibly powerful when played right, and that's where that roots kind of comes into play. Okay, so that's A tier. I'm trying to think if there's anything else here in A tier. I think everything looks pretty good. Serpent's still good. Tangle's lore. Yep, that sounds like A tier to me. Let's look at B tier. I know some stuff changed in B tier a bit. Violence, such a good spirit, man. I've been playing more and more of Violence. Very, very fun. Darkness, Thunder Speaker, River. Yeah, so the other one is Wind. So Wind has jumped out of C tier and into B tier. And this is a spirit that I underestimated. I know there's a couple players in my playgroup have advocated for this spirit, and I always thought it was based around combos. And in a way, yes, the number of wind combos is immense, uh, and it is plenty of spirits can combo with wind and just do just insane things. So just reviewing what wind is. So it's a once per turn, or it's Exaltation of Storm Wind. You and target spirit may each make one of their non-major slow powers fast. So this is a one slow to fast for you and another spirit. And then the 3 air allows you to get +1 range on all of your powers. The third tier allows you to push explorers, and then the fourth tier lets you repeat this. This is so strong because it allows you to give out slow to fast to multiple spirits with that top part. The range boost is so good on a lot of spirits. Like it's different. So like with darkness has a range boost, right? But based on the darkness's economy, it can't play it all the time. Wind is entering a reclaim loop at some point in the game, which means this wind innate, well, also it's on an innate, right? So you pretty much always, you just have 3 air and you get the +1 range. So you're pretty much always giving this effect out, while like the extra range off of darkness or off of sunbright, it's a card, and these are on spirits that are 0/1/1s that don't want to reclaim that often. So just the range is so much more accessible with wind, and I find it tends to matter quite a bit. The third tier allows you to stop builds, and just the explorer disruption is massive into like HME, France, Russia. And it combos with so many spirits. Like the other day, I just did a game with wind and mud, and I was surprised how busted the combo was. Like mud is building explorers. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, but no one really has talked about it, right? Like mud is building explorers, has an issue getting rid of explorers. Wind, well, I shouldn't say has an issue getting rid of explorers. I wouldn't say that specifically, but it needs to spend an action to get rid of explorers. Wind does that for free with that third tier. So it's just I'm actually going to make a synergy video with these two spirits because I found that there's a lot of small things that came up that you wouldn't think would be a big deal, but ended up being really dominant. So okay, yeah. So wind has moved up, definitely out of C tier. I think it's the second best lightning outside of sparking. Sparking is just a bit overtuned, but wind definitely belongs somewhere in B tier. This is where I have right now. Wounded Waters. This is a spirit that I think it moved up. Yeah, it's moved up a little bit because I know Shroud and Sunbright have moved it down. I'm curious to see how high Wounded Waters can go. I know there's been a lot of optimization talk on the server, and it's a spirit that I know some players in my playgroup did optimize. Like I said earlier, like a lot of my players in my playgroup have kind of taken a step back, and now I've been playing the spirit a little bit more, and I'm seeing what I can do with it. I'm hoping that it can possibly get into A tier, but really it has a lot of hurdles to jump through. I mean, there's some really good spirits here in B tier, and I find that this spirit can take a lot of blight in some cases. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else here? Let's look at C tier. Locust, Might, Ocean, Panda. Everything else is about the same. Sea, Warrior. Yep, and it looks like tech. Yeah, so resilience Earth and Earth are still high. Yeah, so I think the rest of this tier list is about the same. So like I said, there's a little bit of movement in S, A, and B tier. Everything else has stayed the same. If you like this video, like and subscribe. If you have any comments, leave them. I try to get back to you guys if there's time available. I will see you guys all in the next video.